Today we'll be taking on Brilliant Diamond as a Hardcore Nuzlocke, but not as a regular Nuzlocke. No, we can't do that around here. Usually, we end up restricting the Pokemon that we actually use in the run, but today, we'll instead be limiting the Pokeballs that we use to catch those Pokemon instead. If we look in our bag here, you'll see we are starting the game with one of each Pokeball in the game, one of each that is, except for the standard Pokeball. And that is because when we choose our starter, it already comes in, wouldn't you know it, the standard Pokeball. We choose Piplup and name our new penguin buddy Blue Cool because he's blue and penguins are cool. But also after Ivan Blue Cool, who commented on my last Nuzlocke video with the idea for this challenge. Thanks, Ivan. If you have your own ideas for challenges, be sure to leave your own requests in the comments down below this video. Hell, honestly, leave any kind of comment at all. It really helps out in the almighty YouTube algorithm, and I really appreciate the support. Me? No. Can't really say I had much of a plan going into this one, per se. I did have an idea of what I'd be looking for and the limited encounters we were going to be able to get, but it's not enough to just be looking for good Pokemon. There's actually an even bigger contributing factor that we're going to have to keep in mind to optimize our limited catching resources, and that is catch rate. Catch rate is exactly what it sounds like. It is the base rate that a species of Pokemon has that determines how likely it is to be caught. Now, we can't ever discount other factors such as health, status, etc. Those all still matter when catching a Pokemon, but the catch rate is the one thing that we cannot modify. That number ranges anywhere from 3, which includes most of our legendary Pokemon that we don't really have to worry about today, all the way up to 255, which is where all the little guys hang out. Yeah, if you can guess what these Pokemon are, you get a prize. And you probably already know that different Pokeballs can have varying catch rates themselves, right? Ultra Ball is obviously better than a Great Ball, is obviously better than a Pokeball. Basically, that just means in a run where we are limiting the amount and kind of Pokeballs that we can use throughout the game, we're gonna have to be a little careful about when we use each specific ball. If we're wasting an Ultra Ball on a Starly with a catch rate of 255, then we won't have anything later if we try to upgrade that into a Murkrow who has a base catch rate of 30. Is it really 30? Holy shit, it is 30. Why is it 30? So even though our starter has taken the obligatory Pokeball slot on the team, that doesn't mean we don't have any other balls with the base effectiveness. For example, we all know that the Premier Ball is just a glorified Pokeball anyway, so when we run into a Starly on Route 1, we have a great opportunity to use this low-level Pokeball on a high catch rate Mon and easily add it to our team without a worry of waste. After all, if one of these balls breaks, then that's just kind of it. We don't get a replacement one. Starly is just like also kind of a good pickup, you know? We can talk numbers and probability all day long, but it doesn't change that at the end of the day, we still need good Pokemon. Certainly not a worry with my boy Staraptor. Learned some great attacking moves, Brave Bird, U-turn, close combat. Just overall a great Pokemon. We name her Alex Star. Since our starter was named after a commenter, I decided to randomly select other comments on that same video for the rest of our team as well. So hey, if you like this idea, you should leave a comment down below and maybe your name will get drafted to join the ongoing and never-ending war between YouTubers and children's games. Shinx? What about it? No, like, I get your side of it. For all intents and purposes, at least in a vanilla game, he's decently bulky, again, has access to Intimidate, he's got pretty decent attack, but the drawbacks are pretty substantial too, you know? Can I point out, this is one of the absolute worst regions to be weak to ground in. You've got an entire ground type Elite Four member, and the ace of the champion is a Garchomp. But the biggest thorn in our side when making decisions on the Pokemon we should or should not capture is the fact that this is actually a hardcore Nuzlocke. We have standards. I think we have standards. Giving up this Shinx means we are foregoing an encounter on this route entirely, as we are only allowed to capture the first Pokemon we do run into, and if we don't, for any reason, we just straight up lose that encounter. Obviously, there are going to be a lot of routes that we don't get encounters on anyway, just because we don't have enough Pokeballs for all of them. But the early game, this is even more important because the Pokemon here are going to be that much easier to catch than any Pokemon we find later in the game. But this does run us into another problem. Dupes. See, generally, even if you don't want a specific encounter, you can still catch that Pokemon in order to prevent you from running into that Pokemon on another route. Yeah, most Nuzlockers call it encounter routing. I call it being a good Samaritan. After all, nobody else is going to pick up the trash along the way. Not being able to do that sucks. Makes me feel like a horrible person. And I deserve to be punished for my crimes, which is exactly what happened. We do avoid as much grass as possible on Route 203, but run into a Shinx anyway. But listen, I don't feel too bad. Electric Only Platinum, it's on the list. It's coming up. In Orberg Gate, we find and catch a Geodude that I may have messed up by using a Nest Ball on, but that's okay. We'll make up for it later.
So what everyone wants to know is, why did you ignore 2 Intimidate Shinx, but then turn around to catch, of all things, a Geodude.
Are you out of your mind? Geodude, undisputed GOAT, comes with his own automatic focus sash, and you're gonna ask me why I picked one up? You don't even know. You wanna know what's an actually crazy one that I skipped? Orberg Mine, Zubat. I normally love Crobat, super easy to evolve, you get them early, fantastic, fast, strong, skipped it entirely, didn't even want one. And that brings us to talk about Route 207, where there are 4 possible encounters. Zubat, who is only found at night, Kricketot, who is only found at night or in the morning, and then always Machop and always Geodude. That means if we come to this route during the day, the only possible encounter we can catch is Machop, since we have already caught a Geodude. That's right, we can actually encounter route properly for like the only time in this game by catching a Geodude in either Orberg Tunnel or Orberg Gate to guarantee that we run into a Machop. Now, Machop has the lowest catch rate of any Pokemon we've gone after so far, but it's still sitting at a respectable 180. And since we already wasted a better Pokeball on Geodude, even though we really shouldn't have, my brain immediately goes, wait, if I can use a worse Pokeball on Machop instead, it won't be like we wasted anything at all now, will it? Repeat Ball is never going to get a boost because in Nuzlocke we're not catching 2 of the same kind of Pokemon, so it is the equivalent of a regular Pokeball, and thus we use it to successfully catch Drew the Machop. Now, Roark is, well, he's certainly a gym leader. His Geodude does not have Sturdy, which means a 4-time super effective stab water gun from Piplup sends it straight back to hell where it belongs. Onix is being forced to deal with a Geodude of our own who sets up defense curls and barely takes any damage from the incoming rock throws and binds that he tries to throw at us. Baked Potato has enough bulk to stay in and whittle down the giant snake with repeated rock smashes, and that also means with our +4 defense boost, Cranidos coming in cannot one-shot us with Bulldoze, and weirdly enough, or maybe because of that, the Dino just opts to headbutt us instead. It does flinch us, so I guess kudos to him, but the next turn brings its HP to half with a single Rock Smash. Now that we're in range of Bulldoze, we should be baiting the move, which will allow us to swap out to Drew and clean up the fight with a massive low sweep. Even though we already have our first badge, our work in Orborg is not quite done yet. You see, this NPC up here will actually guarantee a trade for us, giving us an Abra in exchange for our Machop. The plan all along was never to guarantee a Machop, although it is useful for the Rock Gym as it comes up. No, you see, Machop has now already served its purpose, and we can trade it off for a guaranteed Abra, which at our level cap will evolve into a Kadabra, and because I can trade with my very real friends on my very real Switch, we can evolve it all the way into an Alakazam, who won't obey us until we get another badge, but that's fine. That's not a problem. I have heard the controversy, I have heard the questions, but there's nothing in the rules about using traded or gift Pokemon. The only rule is the amount of Pokeballs in my bag. At least I put it back in a repeat ball. It's stay on theme. We even had to spend a Pokeball to even make the trade in the first place. I think it's totally valid. All right, fine. I will ban gift Pokemon, okay? At least the kind that don't require a catch on my part. Route 204 during the day has the chance for Badoo, which would be awesome, or we can run into Kricketot. Listen, I love Kricketune, I really do. Top 10 bugs, but if you want to see me use one in a Nuzlocke, you're gonna have to go watch my F-tier Platinum run. Lower Roma Town finally gives us access to berries, and then we're off to the Valley Windworks to take on Team Galactic. I have nothing to say about them, or their terrible taste in Pokemon, or their stupid outfits, or their dumb bowl cut hairstyles. Nothing. I have nothing to say. I wish Mars could even put up a fight, but seriously, life hack, use a rock type against her for a free win. There really isn't much else to say about this fight, and anyone telling you that they struggle against her vanilla Perugly is lying to you purely for clout.
But Zubat has Absorb in this version.
Yeah, and you're talking a 20 base power attack coming off of Zubat's, 30 special attack? The fact that our Geodude is 4 times weak to the move is the only reason it did more than 2 damage in the first place. Set up a defense curl, roll out, you'll win the fight in like 3 turns. Changing the time on my PC in an attempt to use the honey tree causes everything to crash so horribly that I give up for the day. But good news, when I come back the next day to continue the run, we are actually able to get an encounter, and it's a male Combi. Oh well, I figured out the time enough to move forward the game by a week and run into Drifloon as our Valley Windworks encounter. Drifloon beats out Machop as our worst catch rate so far, sitting at 125 or a base 25% chance. So now we definitely have to start tapping into our better balls. We get to go slow enough with Alex that I'm hoping a Great Ball will be strong enough to catch it, and I'm wrong. Drifloon officially breaks our first Pokeball. And that means we lose access to our only Great Ball for the run. We up the odds by using our Ultra Ball instead, and do manage to catch the Ghost-type balloon, but then I wonder, Was it really worth losing a whole possible encounter for? It is a ghost type, yes, but it's also a flying type, which we already have. Really not sure I can justify the resources I used to get it. But I did go after it for a reason. I've got plans for Little Frog Goblin, even if I end up doing the plan better with somebody else later, but whoops. Anyway, part of the excitement for this Pokemon comes from the silly little fact that, did you know static Pokemon in this game have 3 guaranteed perfect IVs? I did not until this video. And that does include Drifloon, who has, I shit you not, perfect HP, defense, and special defense. It also has a jolly nature, so don't get too excited. Drifloon is already at our level cap of 22, but that's okay because there is one Pokemon that we can grab to use on the team right now. We just have to backtrack slightly through Jubilife, grab an old rod from this man, and fish for a very, very, very long time until we finally reel up a Magikarp. So funny enough, Magikarp does have our base catch rate of 255, but it's also the only Pokemon that we're going to plan on getting through either surf or fishing encounters in this run. And since the dive ball only ever has an increased chance when catching a Pokemon that you encounter like that, we have no reason not to use the better Pokeball on it here. At least we don't have to worry about wasting anything. And thanks to our increased level cap, we can evolve Aquarius the Magikarp into a Gyarados. Arguably the best Pokemon for all Nuzlockes ever. But it is our 3rd flying type and 2nd water type, so I may have made a mistake. Honey trees continue to be broken, so I guess no Munchlax for me in this run. I mean, I suppose I could take several weeks to check every tree, but yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Eterna Forest sees us paired with Cheryl for a bunch of double battles, but unfortunately our first encounter is Wurmple and Silcoon, neither of which I am particularly interested in, so no encounter for us here, but that's fine. What we're really interested in is the Explorer's Kit that we get inside of Eterna City. This kit will let us explore the brand new Grand Underground, where we can encounter all kinds of Pokemon, and don't get me wrong, I would have loved to dig up a Eternados and use one, but that counts as a gift Pokemon. You know, can't use that now. What we are going to do down here, though, is exploit the hikers that trade their goods for spheres, which are in infinite supply. Our move resource just shot through the roof. As in, we pretty much have access to every single TM now. We are also here to scout out some new potential team members, and for that, let's talk shop about the Grand Underground. This is what replaces the original Underground from the Gen 4 days, and it comes with a ton of new features. The most prominent for us today, and what interests me the most personally, are the various caverns where you can find a wide variety of different Pokemon species, some of which you just straight up cannot find on the surface world. The Grand Underground and its variety of encounters is exactly why I picked this game for the challenge in the first place. But it does have its own set of issues. For one thing, even though each type of cavern has a specific name, when you catch a Pokemon, it is still listed as just being caught in the Grand Underground. However, I can tell you, because I checked, when you look at the Pokemon's information in the save data itself, the game does actually know that the Pokemon is caught in a specific cavern. It just refuses to tell you that in the game on the screen, which is super annoying. Because usually when I'm deciding where a Pokemon is caught, I use this screen to determine if a Pokemon counts as an encounter for that area. However, I think we have to make an exception here, because even if this screen is going to try and tell me otherwise, I know for a fact that I traveled to a new place with a new name that had a new encounter table in order to catch it. Now, does that ruling make the Underground super OP for Nuzlocke encounters? Normally, I would say yes. However, in a challenge like this one, where I can't just go around catching every single Pokemon I want to, because I'm only ever going to get a maximum of like 14 Pokemon now, I think the entire Underground is fair game. We're talking the Grand Underground here. It's my favorite part of the game, and I think it works really well for this challenge. If I wasn't doing this challenge and wasn't allowing the Underground, then guess what? I'd go back and play regular Diamond, or actually probably Platinum. Whatever. Rant aside, there's a few Pokemon down here that I am looking for specifically, but really anything that catches my eye is fair game. Such as this Murkrow that... No more flying types. This is not a Team Sky video. But it could be. Our goal is to simply build out a robust team with a lot of synergy, since we know that it needs to last for most of the game by itself. We only have another 8 potential captures after all. And that's only if every ball we have works, and as we've seen, they probably won't. But that is precisely why picking up Prophet the Scroopy from the Big Bluff Cavern is a great move for us. See, we can basically guarantee the capture on this 120 catch rate mon with a netball, which works better on water or bug types. But eventually, when Prophet evolves, they will lose that bug typing for dark, which will make their only weakness ground, of which half our team is immune. Do you see what I'm getting at? In the spacious cavern, we catch Pinky the Badoo in, of all things, a Safari Ball. Apparently, the Safari Ball has a slightly higher catch rate than a normal Pokeball, but I did not know that at the time of this challenge. Turns out the catch rate was changed on Gen 8 to 1, and then 1.5 in BDSP specifically, and then back to 1 and 9, so yeah, I don't blame myself for getting that mixed up. Whoops, I didn't think I was close enough to run into this guy. Steelix is good. A little bit of an overlap with Golem, but with the better steel typing. I debated this one for a while, but I've only got 6 balls left, man. I'm not catching an Onix. Not gonna lie, that really sucks because that means we are now locked out of a fire type from the specific cave type, and I don't know if we find any fire types anywhere else. In the Grassland Cave, we find Luckpup the Scyther, who we catch pretty luckily in a quick ball. Luckily, I didn't even catch that in the script writing. Speaking of lucky though, the Scyther also has Baton Pass. Pokemon in the underground do have a chance to carry egg moves, and boy did we just get the best one. Less lucky though is our Calm Nature, but nobody's perfect, we'll be fine. Baneri is generally a staple of my Sinnoh teams, but after looking it up, Return is still in fact removed from these games, so nah, I'm good. So crossing off both Munchlax and Baneri, we go after our third choice for a normal type, and the Swampy Cave will net us the encounter Lickitung. Now, Lickitung sucks to try and catch. With only a catch rate of 45, that is a whopping 11% chance to catch at full health. But apparently that doesn't faze me, or I forgot to check. Definitely one of the two. We get its health low to increase the odds, and silly me, I try to catch the damn thing in a heal ball just because I thought the colors matched nicely. And in fairness, they do, so what you gonna do? But anyway, he breaks out, and instead of risking another ball, we switch to Potato and stall out turns with Defense Curl until the Tower Ball reaches peak effectiveness so we can catch him easily. Magnus the Lickitung is a huge pickup because it already comes with Rollout. Rollout is the only requirement for being able to evolve him, which will net us with a Lickilicky right away. With our catching spree completed, we make our way back to the surface and oh, now that is satisfying. We can revamp movesets with our plethora of TMs, and I realized while going down the list that Workup is not available in the underground, but if I run back to Jubilife and beat up these children, they will give me 3 TMs for it, so I do exactly that. You know, I never really understood how Gardenia's hair worked. Is part of her hair colored? Like, is she naturally ginger and part of it's dyed black, or vice versa? If that's the case, why is the back part of her hair so round? Like, it almost looks like her hair is draped over a bowl of some kind, like a dome. I suppose it could be a big, bun of some kind, but I just... Oh, battle's over. I didn't even... Whoops, didn't even know we started. A second badge means Drew will listen to us now, so that's cool. And the new level cap also lets us evolve Baked Potato. We also raised our friendship with Pinky enough to get her evolved as well. Tiny Chibi Cynthia teaches us how to chop down trees with our watch, which gives us access to the Galactic building where we can corner Commander Jupiter. Jupiter is pretty easy in this game since she lost the RNG move she had in Platinum of Night Slash on her skunk. Pinky takes out Zubat and paralyzes Skuntank, taking a non-stab flamethrower handily before swapping out to Baked Potato, who wins the fight with just a couple of bulldozes. On Route 206, I almost make it through the whole cycling road without a battle. Almost. And then we rescue this girl from Wayward Cave before realizing that we don't even have a chance of Gible here yet until we have access to strength. So, whatever. Mount Coronet? I know it. Big place, weird place, a lot of shit going on there, shady shit, right? Met this guy, looked just like baby Voldemort. Came walking right up to me like we were friends or something. Just started spouting nonsense about the universe or some shit. I don't know. We also grab a weird rock from this guy and make our way into one of my favorite places in all of Pokemon, Hearthome City. No real idea why. I've just always loved this place. Think I spent a lot of time here biking in circles to hatch eggs when I was younger. Unfortunately, this is not Platinum, so there's not much to do here right now. But Barry does show up for a fight that I didn't even know existed, and yeah, he's a fair bit under our levels, so. Anyway, 209 has some real cool stuff going on at least. For one thing, we take that weird rock and stick it in this pile of other weird rocks to create the Hollowed Tower. The Hollowed Tower in BDSP is much easier to make use of than in the original games, since it actually counts the NPCs you talk to in the underground instead of real people. And that's actually really cool because NPCs in the underground do not seem to follow any kind of logic. In fact, they completely ignore the laws of physics to randomly decide to spawn wherever the fuck they want. They do have some routes and common areas you can find each specific NPC in more likely than other places, but it doesn't matter because apparently just random chance will allow the NPCs to spawn in another location that is usually occupied by a different NPC. In theory, this would allow the player, if they're lucky, to encounter Spiritomb right away. because you can just go underground and randomly find enough NPCs and boom, you can access the Hollow Tower and boom, you get your encounter. So hey, guess what we did? Spiritomb is just kind of a fun Pokemon and I really couldn't resist the chance to get one. Even if we do already have a Drifloon, really I'm just using this run as an excuse for me to be able to use all the fun Sinnoh Pokemon again. Okay, sue me, the games are easy. But I'll admit that isn't the only reason I decided to encounter this evil spirit. Spiritomb has a catch rate of 100, which all things considered is decently high for that caliber of Pokemon. Specifically, I would put it on a similar plane as Rotom, who we could also go catch in this game, technically speaking, who only has a catch rate of 45. So I decided, screw it, let's try catching this one in one of our basic bitch Pokeballs. Don't ask me how this one worked when a Drifloon broke out of a Great Ball, I just don't have an answer. But I can say that a Spiritomb and a Cherish Ball is all too fitting. What also feels very fitting is, and I'm sorry I have no idea how to try to pronounce it, this username for the mess of a Pokemon that Spiritomb is. Meatnon. He's French. Non. Route 210 runs us into Ponyta, which might honestly be the only fire type we find all game at this point. I really consider it for a second, but ultimately decide that, okay, we can probably live without the fire horse. Route 210 lets us out to Route 215 for some reason, and I could have sworn as a kid that you could catch Krogunk here, but nope. Just the Safari Zone. Eventually, we reach Veilstone City, a great place where we can play dress up, buy a bunch of great TMs that the Underground didn't give us access to, and last but not least, because it's what we're really here to do, it has a gym that we can challenge for our next badge. Well, challenge is a strong word, I guess. I am reminded how much I hate the puzzle in here, making me run in circles too many times, but the leader fight itself against Maylene isn't so bad. Metatype makes the mistake of carrying a status move, which gives Luck Pup the chance to set up Swords Dance, and then one-shot both it and Machoke. He then passes the baton out to Aquarius, who earthquakes poor Lucario in order for us to quickly earn our third badge. Really, this is just a formality in order for us to get access to Fly, but the real treasure here is basically having access to all of the TMs and items we could ever really need. The only issue now is we only have 2 Pokeballs left. I guess we've kind of reached critical mass, I suppose. That's great, really. It just feels early. I have the itch as a trainer and as a Nuzlocker to want and catch more Pokemon, but that might be the real challenge of this run. Can I fight my basic instincts long enough to put together a cohesive team? Well, as we have already seen, No, I cannot. As much as I enjoy my internal debate, I don't even realize the real problem until I reach Pastoria. Okay, so let's talk about it, right? We're going through Pastoria City, passing on our way, and there's a gym leader there, right? What I don't realize is, for whatever reason, he has the same level cap as the last gym leader. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. And so, yeah, that causes us to overlevel. But I mean, it's fine, right? We'll just box Team A and bring out Team B. And I'm sure B team has what it takes to take out 3 Pokemon from a freaking water type trainer, right? Wake's lead Gyarados is somehow outsped by Drifblim, that jolly nature actually coming in handy, I suppose. And we land an easy burn to cripple the Serpent before setting up a Calm Mind and Substitute. Our recent access to Citrus Berries keeps our health up as a +1 boosted Hex knocks Gyarados down into the red. Unfortunately, missing the KO means our Substitute is knocked down, even though the Serpent falls to his burn the same turn. We do get up a new one against Quagsire while it rain dances, but it's just for an extra bit of assurance. Quagsire has the move Haze, which he could use to remove our stat boost, and it isn't blocked by Substitute. So setting up extra Calm Minds isn't really an option either. But the skipper opts for Scald in the rain instead, giving us plenty of time to burn and Hex KO it. That leaves our Substitute up against Weasel, meaning we can burn another physical attacker before swapping out to Magnus. Brine becomes Wake's move of choice, being special and boosted by the rain, but it just isn't enough, and our Lickilicky takes out the Weasel with just a few body slams. With a 4th badge in hand and a level cap increase to fix our earlier mistakes, we chase this Galactic goon out of town, only to run into Barry, who demands another battle. No, honestly, I thought we'd gotten rid of the guy. We chase down the Galactic grunt until he evaporates back into the clouds, but not for nothing, as Chibi Cynthia meets us once again to give us the duck drug so that we can sell some drugs to some ducks. What are you coming at me for? I'm not even the supplier, I'm the distributor, right? I mean, you talk to the champion, you talk to the league chairman if you got problems with that kind of stuff. I mean, these ducks are clearly wanting it, and there's clearly a supply and demand. I'm just the middleman. We run into Voldemort once more in Celestic Town, and this time he smiles, which makes me extremely uncomfortable. Then we full circle ourselves right back into Hearthome. This gym puts us up against 2 of the scariest things imaginable: ghost types and basic math. Jesus. I know we had the budget for that. Fantina leads off with Driftblim, so we match with a ghost of our own. Strength Sap won't bother us too much, and it lets us set up a free substitute that we hide behind while firing off super effective snarls. Even when Fly forces our sub to fade, we let it happen just to deflate her balloon the same turn. Gengar, though, has Dazzling Gleam, so we kinda have to swap. Thankfully, Roselia can come in and resist the hit, but she, avoids it entirely. I didn't really account going into this game how, I guess they're not really a pain, but how interesting of a mechanic that the friendship in this game really is. Seriously, it does a lot. I could have potentially turned off friendship in this game by constantly resetting my Pokemon down to 0 friendship, but even that isn't foolproof, and it feels somewhat disingenuous to the actual build of the game, even if I personally find it annoying just because it's random chance and only good things too, which that shouldn't bother me as much as it does, but it does. Anyway, that doesn't help her dodge the Confuse Ray, even though we hit through anyway and land an extra sensory, a few of which is enough to take down her second spirit, despite Fantina's attempts to heal. Miss Magius is usually a pain to deal with, but after realizing it doesn't actually have Psybeam in this game, we just stay in with Pinky and allow her to heal off the damage she takes with Giga Drain. She will then win the War of Attrition against the final ghost. So yeah, that's badge 5, and we aren't even breaking a sweat. Turns out the guy who can beat champions with a Volbeat probably shouldn't be allowed to catch whatever the fuck he wants. That's alright. I can really only get this cocky in vanilla games anyway. Look at him go. Nice. Canalave City sure is a place, and Barry is here to meet us once again. I was a little worried at first because I forgot about the fight, and then when he leads off with a Staravia and not a Staraptor, well, I know just what we're in for. Well, what he's in for anyway. So, Iron Island. The exposure to natural steel did something strange to our penguin, but hey, I'm not complaining. We then pair up with a cosplayer named Riley, who decides to join me on my quest. Yeah, sure, Iron Island. I mean, it's a place. There were 2 things I needed from there. One of which was the metal coat. You can find those on Wild Steelix. You just thieve them off and you're fine. But the other one was a shiny stone. Did you know you can only get 2 of those in that game? So anyway, no, the incident with Team Galactic was completely unrelated, and the allegations of me turning down the Riolu egg are highly exaggerated because it was never even offered to me. That was never a thing. I never took it and made an omelet. I never seasoned it with salt, pepper, garlic powder, green onions, and paprika. It didn't happen. Roserade is one of my favorite Gen 4 cross-gen Evos, and I'm very happy to add the White Rose to our team. We also evolved Luck Pup into a Scizor, which gives us an insane amount of extra support and power. Somewhat related fact, did you know that this guy will give you, like, all the EV reducing berries? You can also go to Amity Square, and they'll let you start walking around with Pokemon. I didn't do that because I hate the mechanic. Put that on record. I hate following Pokemon. Come after me in the comments. I can take you. But yeah, if you walk around with your Pokemon and they have certain natures or whatever, they can also find you a bunch of berries. So you kind of have access to whatever you want. We can also buy vitamins. And in this generation, because I can't remember when it's changed, Gen 5 probably, EVs stopped being capped from vitamins at 100. So you can use vitamins to go all the way to the maximum of 255. Really, that just means that we can be swapping around EV spreads as much as we want throughout the game as we deem necessary. Mostly that's only going to apply to Scizor, who sometimes will need to be defensive, such as for this fight when we start utilizing our Baton Pass strategy. We set up a Swords Dance while Byron twists the dimensions, and unfortunately his Confuse Ray forces us to hit ourselves the next turn. But we do break through while Bronzor whips up a Sandstorm to get our defense raised. Bronzor then lands a Flash Cannon, which annoyingly hits us with the special defense drop that we pass over with our other boosts as we pass the baton to Magnus. Despite a following Confuse Ray, we actually managed to land 2 knockoffs, which take down whatever Bronzor is. It's a mirror, right? Or a plate? Platter? Ancient Frisbee? Anyway, most Gym Leader Pokemon in this game carry an item, and since we have to break the sturdy on Steelix anyway, we knock off the soft sand that it's holding to reduce the damage we might take from Earthquake. We are then allowed to finish off the snake in the following turns with some Quaking Earth of our own. Bastiodon is Byron's last Pokemon, and thank goodness because the last 2 could really take a beating. We knock off the Dino Citrus Berry first, which frees him up to be one-shot by the 4-time super effective Earthquake. 6 badges in hand means of course that we are at the point of the game where story needs to happen. Barry didn't seem to run too far after his humiliating beating, since since he's now here to recruit us for a meeting with the professor. He's talking about something for sure. I mean, absolutely he is. When a loud noise draws us outside. Hopefully, a sailor comes by to tell us exactly where the explosion came from, which means our ears must be really, really good to be able to hear a non-lethal explosion from the other side of the country. And since we live inside of an RPG, we know that means we have to head there immediately. What we find when we get there is a big old crater in the ground where we have to assume a lake used to be. I can't really confirm that since we never get to see the actual lake, but it's what I'm told. We also find a bunch of the weird bowl cut guys belonging to, you guessed it, Team Galactic. Saturn is one of the Galactic admins of all time, but Magnus and Non can take the brunt of the fight, which forces Saturn to tell us where to go next. The lake next to home is now overrun by Mars and her goons, but fortunately the professor is here, which means we team up with his assistant Dawn in order to take them out. And by team up with, I mean do for her, because she lost to the weakest Team Galactic commander? Like, seriously? You lost to that? Crazy. Truly, we do live in a society. Fun thing I just had to try, these two grunts here that you're supposed to fight in a double battle, you can talk to them at an angle to fight them individually. I can't remember if they're a forced double battle in the originals. I feel like they are. Not that it really mattered, I just think it's funny that Bulbapedia lists them as always being a double battle, and I didn't do that, so whatever. Just like Saturn before her, Mars also gets to face the wrath of Licky Licky comboed this time with Alakazam. Again, Dawn, you really couldn't take care of this yourself? Every other trainer in these games, man, I swear. With the exception of Leon in Sword and Shield, it feels like nobody can do anything in this world. There is one more lake that we are forced to visit in order to track down the missing Galactic Commander, which means we have to run through Mount Coronet once again to head as far north as possible. Oh wait, Feebas could... No. We just went over this with fucking Murkrow. No more water types, nothing else weak to fucking electric, I swear. Snowpoint City is easy enough to reach, and there's nothing really blocking us before the gym. So we enter in, deal with the annoying puzzle, like what the fuck just happened? And Magnus overlevels in the process. Well, that's okay. We do have the newly evolved Prophet add to the team in his place, but really this was going to be a luck pup show from the beginning. Another reset of Caesar's stats turned him back into an offensive powerhouse. Max attack, sword stance, boosted escalating Fury Cutter, which is super effective against all of Candace's team except Metajam, but whatever, is more than enough to snag us our 7th badge. The gyms in vanilla games, man, they just feel more like a chore than anything else. They're not an accomplishment to defeat, you just have to do it. And it seriously sucks because if they weren't titled as gym leaders, I probably wouldn't be covering them at all if they were just vanilla trainers. You fight vanilla trainers that are harder than the gym leaders. But then if you're not covering gym leaders, what's the point, right? It's just never-ending spiral. Though this fight did highlight a glaring weakness on our team, and that is the overall speed tier, getting us into some potential issues where Caesar definitely could have taken too much damage here, and we relied a little too heavily on her typing in order to keep her afloat. But that gives me the excuse to break Alistar back out and evolve her into a Staraptor, adding some much needed speed to our roster. Yeah, so we come up and I find Barry getting bullied by Commander Jupiter, right? That was her name. And it's kind of messed up because as far as I could tell, only I'm allowed to bully Barry. So that's not okay. We chase down Jupiter the Stupider right back to their team headquarters back in Veilstone. This guy outside says he knows nothing about a storage key, then he drops the storage key. The storage key lets us access the storage room, unlocked by the storage key, which then allows us to key in on the location of the bad guys within the storage. This actually is the key to the whole storage operation, since the storage links up with the rest of the Galactic headquarters from underneath. Now that's the key. So we run out of the storage and find a new better key called the Galactic key in the storage with the storage key, and then use the Galactic key in the Galactic building to access the leader of Team Galactic, who holds the key to why we're here. It is in here that we finally face off against Voldemort. Luck Pup is still a menace, and with an Iron Plate boosting her bullet punch, neither Swarm nor a modest nature can stop the onslaught that follows. We continue the punishment over to his admin Saturn, free the Triforce, and then climb Mount Coronet with the intention of fumbling the plans of Galactic for good. We climb cliff sides, trudge through the snow, and finally make our way to the very top. Spear Pillar. It is here that Voldemort and his lackeys are just kind of hanging out. They gave the God of Time a cool friendship necklace and everything, so like, I don't see the big deal. But to finish the game, we do have to break the friendship necklace, and to do that, we gotta beat the crud out of these guys, so what you gonna do? Mars and Jupiter decide to face us in a double battle first, and Barry shows up just in time to, honestly, it'd be more of a hindrance than anything. Of course, he finds a Munchlax, a stupid prick. Drapion makes quick work of their Bronzor, then we bring in Gyarados to screw over the ground weak Skuntank and the digging Perugly. And finally, our Penguin Emperor can come in to Ice Beam their pair of bats right back into next week. The real show starts when Dialga gets tired of his necklace, maybe it was itchy or something, but then the Triforce help him remove it, and then we're facing down one ugly Pixie and the God of Time. Baby Voldemort gets angry and marches as menacingly as his tiny baby legs will let him, and then he achieves his true form as we are forced into a battle. Prophet's Berry is already used up from the last battle, but he's got enough bulk in the tank to still get off a Toxic like the true Chad that he is. We'll be switching out the next turn to Blue Cool, who could easily take an Air Cutter before KOing with an Ice Beam. Against Gyarados, we match his power by bringing in Aquarius, who can lower her twin's attack while also being immune to the incoming Earthquake. We're now pretty free to set up Dragon Dances, though a crunch lowering our defense is not ideal. Fortunately, the opposing Sea Serpent is not surviving a +1 Stone Edge anyway, so the worry is largely unnecessary. Crobat tries way too late to support his already mostly dead team with the Tailwind, and we don't even have to risk the Stone Edge hitting since Waterfall 2-shots. Thanks to a timely Citrus Berry, we survive Weavile's Aerial Ace, but I forgot about the Tailwind. So that allows this thing to outspeed us, meaning Aquarius is in real danger. The next turn, Cyrus is going to heal anyway, so we have a free swap that we use to bring out Blue Cool once again. The hope here is that we can bait out Dig, so we immediately swap back out to Alex, get the Intimidate off, and have the advantage as Weavile is locked into a 2-turn move that won't affect us. Weavile is still faster, so it comes up out of the ground, the attack does not land, and a Chople Berry will not save you from the fate that is close combat. Sorry Cyrus, guess I'm just too smart for you. The God of Time is just kind of watching our human squabble, and as Team Galactic runs off and Professor Rowan shows up, like... Wait. How did he get here? Did he just climb the whole mountain? Isn't he like 80? We are then forced to face the god in combat. I don't usually allow legendaries in my runs, and it's not like I really want to fight this guy, but Blue Cool sure as fuck does. He tanks every god dang hit and fells the beast with the very last of his Ice Beam PP. We have officially killed the God of Time. Arguably the most controversial thing I did was murder the God of Time, and I do take full responsibility. Well, I take half responsibility. I mean, part of it was the penguin's fault, right? Consequences. As sure fuck there were consequences. We were on the top of the mountain. It literally doesn't get more open than that. And we weren't allowed to fly. We go into the cave and we use the escape rope to escape, and it takes us back to where we killed the god. There were consequences. We couldn't leave. We were stuck in a time loop. Until I walked away. Apparently it was a centralized issue. I'm sure it'll be fine. I don't think it'll spread, probably. Was that man always a child? Usually I'd ask, what god I angered, but I guess we know in this case. It's not good. Why does my leg feel weird? Now we are free to reach one of my other favorite cities in all of Pokemon, Sunyshore. Spelled with one N for some reason. This guy in the lighthouse claims to be the strongest gym leader in the region. I say bet, and he runs off to the gym to wait for me. And wait he will, because it is time for us to grab our last encounters. At least that was what I thought, but the math didn't really add up that way. We realistically only have 1, maybe 2 encounters left that we can catch, and obviously we aren't using legendaries, since I usually ban those kinds of Pokemon, and we didn't end up catching the Dialga, who is the strongest Pokemon in the region that we could still obtain. If you said Garchomp, then wow, you really know your stuff. Are you busy after this? You wanna grab a drink? Or the Pokemon I would really like to get is Frostlass. A fast ice type would be great for the Elite Four, and ghost typing is not one I am upset about doubling or tripling down on. But as it turns out, we can't get that before obtaining the National Dex, which is not gonna happen. So anyway, let's see if we can get our own Garchomp. The first place we should look inside is Wayward Cave, now that we can navigate it better, but we've run into a Bronzor instead. And we don't have enough Pokeballs to route it as a guaranteed encounter, so maybe we should have planned this better from the start. And so defeated, we have to return to Sunyshore City when... Excuse me, let me just... Hello? Uh-huh. Yeah. The where? The Underground has a strange habit of expanding its encounter tables as you accomplish more things in the game. For example, after obtaining the Icicle Badge, guess who has a chance to show up in a cave that we never explored before? That's right, it's motherfucking Gibble in the Fountain Spring Cave. This poor excuse for a shark has a lower catch rate than Spiritomb, so I'm not risking anything. The Master Ball is the one that we should only use on the strongest Pokemon in the game, and for us today, it doesn't get any stronger than Mateus. I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, but it's the thought that counts. Also, there's kind of just a guy here. I'm really not sure what that's about. you can't talk to him and he's walking on the water, so, anyway. Wait, he's here too. What? The fuck? We leave the underground and the cursed ghost child behind and then fly to Snowpoint and go back underground to find an expanse of ice caves, and oh my god, he's here too! Out of all the cool things in the underground, this mime walking in place was only the third coolest because the ice was definitely the second. Anyway, the first coolest thing was the leftovers that we could find right here. Okay, maybe it's a little less cool since you can also find them on the wild Munchlax and just steal them from those, but don't worry, we'll definitely be making use of thieving items off Pokemon down here later. But hey, it's still neat. Wait, you can find Munchlax down here? Since Frostlass is off the table, I'm feeling like I still want either an ice or electric type, and these caverns are home to Snover, who is honestly a great potential option, or Magnemite. Why is this kid everywhere? Ultimately, I decide to catch Bronzor. No, wait, I promise there is a really good reason. I guess running into the one we did in Wayward Cave gave me the idea. What's important right now is that we just find one with the ability Levitate, and by using Aquarius's Earthquake, we find that this one does not have the ability that we want. But that's okay. This cave has a different name because it's a conjoined cavern of two other types, both of which also feature Bronzor. So we actually have 3 chances to find the mirror that we want. And the second Bronzor actually lands us with the ability we're looking for. So why Bronzong? Well, just in case he doesn't actually get the chance to shine in the way that I hope he does, let's break down why Levitate Bronzong might be one of the best goddamn Pokemon in all of Gen 4. Steel type means he resists Dragon and is not weak to Bug. Psychic type means he is quad resistant to Psychic. Steel typing also gives him immunity to Poison, and Levitate gives him a full immunity to Ground. Do you see what I'm getting at? Bronzong, of all Pokemon, is the perfect Garchomp answer. And in this game, you need a Garchomp answer. This thing also learns Rain Dance, Sunny Day, Dual Screens. He's holding a Light Clay. In Gen 4, he gets Toxic. In Gen 8, he gets Bulldoze, a lower speed. This Bell has it all, and it is not even close. As I was putting together my preparations for the Elite Four, knowing we would be there right after Volkner, once I ruled out having a fast Ice type, I knew we needed a jack of all trades that would be useful against every member of the league in every scenario. And there is just no Pokemon that does it like Bronzong. Well, a Giratina would do it, probably, but we don't have one of those, so. All we need now is for our last and final Pokeball, our Luxury Ball, to successfully make this capture on one last 255 Catrate Mon. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our very last encounter. Welcome aboard Exploding. I sure hope that name is non-omen of what's to come. Yeah. You know, funny you should ask, because I think this might be the run that had the worst luck with Nature's On, actually. Somehow we doubled up on Jolly, getting into both Drifblim and Bronzong. And we got a hasty Garchomp, which he doesn't need to be frailer than that. Pretty sure I had a modest both Caesar and Golem. It just, it never worked. I don't think I got a single, actually I didn't get a single beneficial nature, did I? I never rolled an Atom in anything. We evolve the newest and last members of the squad and make the rounds one final time to pick up the items that I know we're about to need. But there was this guy in Celestic Town, right? You go to him, you tell him, hey, I need he's got the goods. He's got what you need, okay? Depending on the time of day you talk to him, you'll get choice specs, you get black glasses, you get wise glasses, all right? You want to look like a wise guy? Go for it, go ahead. Throw choice specs on your Alakazam, I promise you're sweeping people you didn't know you needed to sweep. Turns out that this game has a lot more held items than I gave it credit for, counting both random and held items in the underground, plus additional items available in the game that just weren't there in the originals. So I will be gathering those and replacing the berries to move to my unique held items rule. Volkner is the first to be on the receiving end of our brand new Garchomp, and unfortunately no berry is going to save his rat from an Earth Plate boosted Earthquake. This will now bait out Octillery to use Aurora Beam, so we swap out to our resident steel plated insect, who is going to help us with a bit of a heist. Many gym leaders in this game actually have an expert belt equipped to one of their Pokemon, and Volkner is no different. We thief away the Octo's belt, then you turn away to Bronzong to set up a light screen and slow down the octopus with Bulldoze. All we gotta do now is finish the fight and we will have our very own expert belt, an item we cannot get until after the Elite Four normally. Though that is easier said than done, since Octillery with Focus Energy landing crit after crit is not an ideal situation to be fighting against. Eventually, we find ourselves with Drew in the active spot, who fortunately can break through the accuracy drops of Octazooka and land a Choice Specs Energy Ball to save the day. Ambipom's only non-normal move is Thunderbolt, which means Non will have absolutely no problem walling it thanks to Snarl and Leftovers. And Volkner's last Pokemon Luxray is a purely physical attacker, meaning we can cripple it into irrelevancy with a Will-O-Wisp and then switch out safely to Mateus and win the fight, and our final badge with one more strong Earthquake. And not only that, but it means we have successfully pulled off the... Wait a second. Where's my expert belt? So as it turns out, the Move Thief was changed in Generation 5 to no longer keep the held items you steal off of trainers, so that sucks. No, I think, no, okay, hear me out. I think you're misunderstanding. I wasn't trying to be a thief. I was using a move called Thief to employ a more ingenious strategy which would allow me to borrow an item that they have in surplus and would not miss or have further need of, so I could use it for the rest of my adventure. It wasn't about me trying to steal it. If anything, I was being a genius about it. I was being really smart and utilizing resources, and I think that'll hold up in court of law, right? We have now been granted the ability to climb waterfalls, which means we can make a trek north across the ocean and through Victory Road to finally enter the Pokemon League. Now it's time to level up our team, stack our items, revamp movesets, and get stomped by Barry before we can get to the good stuff. Our level cap is 63 for the Pokemon League, meaning Barry's team of now low 50s really doesn't stand much of a chance. We use Non to burn his lead turkey, which effectively throws the fight in our favor. Pluck can't do anything against us, so expectedly this forces the bird to eventually U-turn out, bringing in Rapidash. Although the bird did set up Sunny Day before switching out, which may help with the Flame Wheel stab, but again, it's Flame Wheel. It doesn't do much of anything to our well-built wall, and we take it out with just a bit of snarling. Torterra does look a good bit scarier with Woodhammer packing a real punch. Of course though, we tank it, burn the tortoise, and then sit there with Protect to get our health back. Torterra makes himself as much of a nuisance as possible though, setting up the stealth rocks and then roaring out Luck Pup, who takes the opportunity to cut the world tortoise with a strong aerial ace. With Staraptor coming back out still burned, we take the opportunity to U-turn out to Aquarius, who can set up a few Dragon Dances, and then sweep all of the rest of Barry's poor team. Can you believe this guy actually thinks he has what it takes to become champion? Jeez, somebody should really put that to the test. Speaking of putting to the test though, now we have to actually put together a real team for the Elite Four, and I'll be honest, this one took me a while. Not even for the usual reasons. Normally I have to find a good line because I have so few options, and today it's the exact opposite actually. We have too many good options, and I don't know which Pokemon I want to take with me. Because of that, I do something I don't normally do, and that is ban a move. Or, well, kind of. This Elite Four was going to be absolutely trivial if I decided to use Baton Pass, and on Caesar specifically, we only got that from a lucky egg move find in the underground. Being able to pass Sword Stance and Agility to either Garchomp or Gyarados would just make the fights trivial. And if that's the only option I have to fight through something, then obviously I'm going to use it. However, like I said, I have so many options that just seems like one I could potentially avoid. So I decided to ban it, at least on Luck Pup specifically. Just this once, okay? I'm not gonna be making this a regular thing, all right? You know I don't like complex bans. Anyway, enough blabbering. Let's see what we're here to see. Let's finish the Pokeball Nuzlocke. We caught our team with a few resources we had. Can they beat the Elite Four? First up is Aaron, one of my favorite Elite Four members when I was younger. Got my youngest brother be named after this guy. Don't tell him, he still thinks it's from the Bible. We are fighting fire with fire, or bug with bug, by revealing the very first member of our Elite Four team today, and that is Luck Pup the Caesar. Rocking up with a modest nature but max attack EVs and still freshly mourning the loss of our Baton Pass, but that does not stop us from using Luck Pup's access to agility or Swords Dance. She sets up both on Aaron's lead Dustox, who can't do anything to her thanks to the steel typing. We max out her already massive attack stat and then sweep through every single one of his poor bugs with the super effective aerial ace. That is, of course, except for Aaron's trump card of Drapion. Okay, who am I kidding? At +6, it goes down to a stab bullet punch. Okay, nothing's surviving that. One Elite Four member defeated. Bertha, the ground type specialist, is up next, and that means it is time to reveal the next member of our team today. That's right, Exploding the Bronzong. Just as we went over before, this wall of a Pokemon can shift its style to support our team however we need it to. and the levitate ability completely nullifies the weakness it would otherwise have in this battle. Exploding has the job of carrying the entire team on his back. He sets up both a light screen and a reflect, keeping both up for as long as possible with their held light clay. Then he breaks out the secret weapon. This spell, normally known for bringing the rain, can cause the sun to shine just as easily. Quagsire's moveset here consists of Toxic and Earthquake, both of which Bronzong is immune to, and now the only possible damaging move of Surf is being weakened by both the light screen and the sun. We have crippled Bertha's lead Pokemon so bad that we have complete reign over the rest of the battle once we bring in Pinky. You may or may not know about this interaction, but one of my favorite little move combos is the fact that Growth, when used under the conditions of Sunny Day, actually causes the attack stat gained by the Pokemon to be doubled. That's right, we are repeating the same strategy we just used against Aron, effectively setting up a nasty plot every turn until we reach +6, heal up with our Black Sludge plenty in the process since Reflect is still weakening the power behind Quagsire's neutral Earthquake, and then once our boosts have maxed, it is time to unleash the power that is Energy Ball. It one-shots Quagsire, then Whiscash, then Sudowoodo. You get the idea. My only issue with the plan is, in retrospect, we probably should have been using Giga Drain just for a little bit more sustain in the fight. Bertha's Golem will always survive a hit thanks to Sturdy, but it ended up really not mattering as her Golf Ball falls anyway, just like the Hippo that follows. But to get around that, there was another strategy we could have utilized, and I try my best not to repeat mistakes. Too often, at least. So when we come face to face with Flint, we reveal to him the 4th member of our Elite Four squad, and that is Baked Potato the Golem. Not every day you see a Golem make it into the Pokemon League, now is it? Potato is taking the charge as our resident berry holder. For this fight in particular, he is packing a Lumberry, which he can snack on after Flint's lead Rapidash puts him to sleep with Hypnosis. This allows him to wake up and keep us in the action, successfully setting up a Stealth Rock on Flint's side of the field for later. Rapidash gets tired of our shenanigans and tries to Iron Tail us out of the equation, but even though it does respectable damage, we're never worried thanks to our Sturdy ability. Taking a page out of Bertha's book with that one. We stay in and pick up the KO with Earthquake. That does mean, however, with our Sturdy broken, we are forced to retreat when Lopunny comes out to play, rocking her signature high jump kick. And thus introducing member number 5. You know them, you love them, and you can't leave home without them because they follow you regardless. It's Non-1 NHO. As is my favorite strategy against high jump kick users, bringing in our Ghost type causes the opposing rabbit to crash helplessly, taking massive recoil damage. And fun fact, the only move Lopunny has to hit a Ghost type is Fire Punch, meaning we just switch right back to Baked Potato and take the resisted hit. So yeah, it's a little mean, but we're doing that just because it means we can swap right back to Non and force Flint to kill his own Pokemon through recoil damage. Interestingly, his Steelix does not have Sturdy, instead rolling up with a full damage build thanks to its held Life Orb and ability Sureforce. That's all nerd talk just to tell you that Iron Tail, yeah, it fucking hurts. Especially when we miss a Will-O-Wisp to at least try and contain the threat. But I won't miss the opportunity to make my next switch easier. With leftovers healing not enough to get out of KO range without a crit, we stay in until we actually manage to burn the Steelix, which allows us to easily tank another blow. With the Snake wounded and its offense cut, our 6th and final member makes his Elite Four debut, and 2nd ever battle showcase, welcome in Mateus. Mateus is locked to the gills. Does he have gills? Do sharks have gills? He's a shark. Maybe? Locked to the gills with coverage moves to take full advantage of his massive attack stat. And specifically here, he's still holding the Earth Plate provided by God himself to provide an attack boost to one of the strongest Earthquakes of all time. Steelix falls without another goddamn word. Flint's Drift Blim isn't going to fare much better, with Rock Slide in addition to Stealth Rock damage popping the blimp before it can do much of anything. You can kind of see where I wanted the Expert Belt to be used, right? This was it. And then we get to see Flint's final Pokemon, Infernape. I'll admit, the calculations are close, but the honest answer is, if you can believe it, Garchomp, even with a negative defense nature, survives the close combat and once more puts his power on display as he takes down the ape whose Focus Sash was completely broken by the Stealth Rocks upon entering. The 3rd Elite Four member is burnt down to cinders. Lucian may very well be one of the best Elite Four members of all time, not just in team, but in design and overall complexity of his character, right down to his programming difficulty being higher than even most Elite Four members to showcase his intellect. Unfortunately for him, me and my team are just that much smarter. Exploding goes toe to Bell with Mr. Mime, trading off Reflects and Light Screens. And that will soften the blows that Pinky will have to take when she swaps into Toxic the bulky mime. Toxic being reworked to no longer be learnable via TM to most Pokemon means that there are not a lot of Pokemon, and most of them are all poison type, that can actually get access to the insanely broken move. Roserade just happens to be one of those lucky Pokemon that learns it via level up. We'd probably be able to kill the mime anyway, but Roserade has no other real purpose in this fight, and Mr. Mime going down quickly and efficiently is good because we don't want it to stick around to set up more screens than it already has. But the real star of this show, if you can believe it, we have gone full circle to bring back out Luck Pup the Caesar, who takes his time setting up Swords Dance after Swords Dance, getting a +4 boost before taking down the Fairy-type mime with a super effective Bullet Punch. Medicham, Girafarig, Alakazam all fall just as easily one right after the other thanks to their frail defenses. The only Pokemon that Bullet Punch can't blow a hole through is Lucian's own Bronzong. But with an extra TM out of the bag, Stab U-turn is enough and Lucian joins his fellow Elite Four members, having been swept just like the rest. With a full team of Pokemon intact and only the champion right in front of us, it is time to prove that this team, built on the hopes and dreams of just one bag of balls, can take it all the way. Cynthia always starts off with Spiritomb, which can be both a good and bad thing. At the very least, it means we aren't going to be hit by anything crazy right out of the gate, but its bulk is substantial, and that has me concerned enough that I want this thing on a timer immediately. Pinky leads the charge for us this time, and Spiritomb's non-stab sidekick is not enough to stop us from inflicting it with our powerful poison. And then it's time to bring in our very own Spiritomb, who will without a doubt win the Stallfest thanks to Protect and Snarl, letting the toxic damage rack up until finally the opposing Spirit is no more. Cynthia only has one super effective move on our team to hit us with, and that is Dazzling Gleam coming from her very own Roserade. That makes the switch out to Caesar all too easy, and Luck Pup can sit in front of this weed, set up Swords Dance, roost off the damage she takes over time, and land a Bullet Punch, which doesn't kill. Well, that would be an issue if AI didn't heal themselves. Cynthia wastes a turn, allowing us to roost, Swords Dance, and then fire off an even stronger Bullet Punch, which guarantees the kill and takes out Roserade for good. Gastrodon is up next on the chopping block, but we're not planning to stay in anyway. In fact, our U-turn will give us a free switch out while dealing massive damage to the ugly slug in the process. Exploding comes in to take the fellow Steel type's place, and they can tank anything Gastrodon wants to throw at them, while basically ensuring that Gastrodon will have to use Scald the next turn. With that knowledge, we bring out our own Roserade back out to face Cynthia, who also switches. Okay, hey, good for you. Lucario is in now, and gotta say, it's not what we want to see. But it's nothing a quick switch back to non-can't fix. Unfortunately, a burn here will not be enough to save the day, as Cynthia's Lucario is a special attacker, as evidenced by the nasty plot it sets up on the switch. Uh-oh. What we're really letting happen here, though, is Non is done with this fight and with this game. He put in so much work for us to get to this point, but we need a guaranteed free switch here. And every other member of the team still has a role to play in this battle. With a +2 flash cannon being more than enough to take out our Spiritomb, the first death of the run, and in this final battle too, we bring in, of all Pokemon, Baked Potato the Golem to take his place. At full HP, it does not matter how strong this Lucario is, we will always survive the first blow, and that allows a super effective Stab Earthquake to put a halt on Cynthia's plans to sweep. Although the fight is not done yet. We have to keep the momentum. Lucario is not the only Pokemon on the Champions team that wants to set up and plow right through us, and being put on the back foot against her more defensive Pokemon could put us in a real bad position against the real threat, Garchomp, who is waiting silently, biding his time in the back. We have to keep our foot on the gas. Potato swaps his berry in this fight for a Custap, allowing him to eat it now at his 1 remaining HP and utilize his ability to explode, self-destructing on Gastrodon, taking both it and himself out of the fight permanently. This allows us one more time to bring in Pinky for free while Cynthia sends out her Milotic. Milotic is holding a Flame Orb, but that won't activate until after the Serpent has already been in for a turn, which means right now we're able to land a Toxic, which will poison the Milotic and start chipping away at his HP even faster than a Burn would. Milotic does have Ice Beam, but it doesn't take us out in a single hit. Not that it matters, because friendship mechanics in this game are completely busted, and that causes random things to happen like this. Avoided in time. Avoided in time? Really? Great, fine. Whatever. Energy Ball and Toxic together don't do quite enough to KO Milotic, but they do force Cynthia to heal while we continue attacking. And 2 Energy Balls turn out to be too much for her to take. Cynthia is down to her last Pokemon. So here's what I mean about making sure we're not on the back foot. We lead off with Toxic against Milotic because if it had killed us with a crit Ice Beam, we would still have constant damage even after we swapped out. Even if it was healed later with a full restore, that would eventually lead to a free turn where Cynthia is healing, so we have a chance to find and keep momentum. In a situation like this though, where we were not not killed and Roserade is still in the lead spot, we have an opportunity to again keep the pace. Cynthia's Garchomp currently outspeeds every Pokemon on my team, and if it's allowed to Swords Dance here, it just might still sweep us. However, we can stop that before it even starts. If Garchomp goes for the attack and kills us, then it doesn't get an attack boost, which will allow us to switch to Bronzong, bulldoze Cynthia's Ace in order to slow it down, and then at that point, it doesn't matter how strong it is because a stab Dragon Claw from our very own Mateus in the back will take it out before it has a chance to act. If Garchomp goes for Swords Dance now, it will be Toxic right where it stands, and then we're put in the same position that we were against Milotic, where no matter what, that poison will either win us the match or force Cynthia to take a turn off in order to heal, which again allows us the chance to swing momentum. That line will take a little more effort in order to keep our pieces in place that we need in order to win the fight, but it is still very, very doable. So the only call here is to click Toxic and see which path we have to follow.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
No, I mean, it was fine. I had a really cool idea. I had a really cool line. I brought Bronzong specifically to use against the Garchomp and brought my own Garchomp because I was gonna, have a cool little face-off thing. I had a whole plan. I had a whole strategy. It just, it needed to go one of two ways, right? Roserade either needed to die or Garchomp needed to Swords Dance. At least if it had Swords Dance, it would have killed me the next turn and it actually would have been a threat, right? It would have been cool. It would have been this whole like, oh my God, this game took that away from me. It took it away from me because this was not something I could have chosen. Sometimes things happen and you have to pretend like you're fine even though you're not, Is it a bad thing that this happened? No, obviously not. We're going to win the fight even easier now. But like, is it how I wanted it to happen? Is it fair that it happened this way? I can't say it is. Did I consider trying it again? Absolutely I did. Did that feel disingenuous? Yeah. For one thing, I would have had to redo the entire Elite Four, and I mean, not that they were super difficult, but come on, right? Who wants to do that? And I mean, even if we didn't get to use our own Garchomp, at least Bronzong still got to come out and play. Garchomp finally kills our Roserade after she lands the Toxic, bringing us to a total of 3 deaths in the run, and we bring in Exploding the Bronzong, who is, count it, immune to Earthquake, immune to Poison Jab, and resistant to Dragon Claw. We can sit there until the cows come home, still bulldoze just in case, because I mean, why not? And then, even though deep down I am wanting and begging her to, Cynthia never heals, the poison damage ticks away, we're never in danger because Garchomp never clicks Swords Dance even once, and eventually, Cynthia's Ace Garchomp falls without so much as a whimper. Do I think it was anticlimactic? Of course I think it was anticlimactic. I mean, it was still fun as heck, though. I enjoyed it. Did you see that Custap Berry Golem play? You only get those from falling Pokemon, by the way. Specific natures give you different berries, but I guess you can get them all that way. I thought it was neat. It's just a fun little line I got to throw in there. When Cynthia falls and our name is entered into the Hall of Fame, we can officially and finally say, player defeated, Brilliant Diamond. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know you liked it because you stayed all the way to the end, and thank you so much for doing that. Please be sure to leave a comment down below, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you all in the next video. See ya.